All right, so get ready, because we are diving deep into Laini Taylor's Days of Blood and Starlight.
Oh, I'm so excited for this one.
Yeah, me too.
This is a good one.
So much to unpack. Hidden worlds, um, mythical creatures,
Yeah.
and a war that literally spans lifetimes.
Yes.
I mean, what more could you ask for? And our focus.
Mm.
We're going to be looking at the intense connection between Karoo and Akiva and how their struggles kind of mirror the larger conflict
Right.
between the Chimera and these angel warriors, the Seraphim.
Yeah, and I think what makes it so interesting is it's this like big epic fantasy world, right?
Right.
But then at the heart of it, it's about these two people.
Yeah.
You know, star-crossed lovers, love, loss, choices we make, all that.
Yeah.
It really pulls you in on all those different levels.
Totally. Okay, so let's start with Karoo.
Okay.
We meet her, and she's an art student in Prague.
Yeah.
Super normal on the surface.
Right.
Like you wouldn't think anything was up.
Totally normal girl.
But there's this mystery around her.
Yes. Very mysterious.
And it doesn't take long for us to discover her true identity, right? She's a chimera.
Right.
This being who can be resurrected.
Yes.
Raised by this like crazy enigmatic brimstone.
Brimstone is the best.
I love brimstone.
Yeah, so good. And that's where things start to get really interesting because then we have Akiva,
Right.
our angel warrior.
Angel warrior, yeah.
He's got a past with Karoo.
Uh-huh.
Well, not Karoo exactly.
Right.
It's more accurate to say with her past self.
Yeah.
Madrigal.
Madrigal, right.
They were in love,
Yeah.
but it ended tragically.
Yeah.
Madrigal's execution.
Right.
And that was one of the things that really set off the war between the Seraphim and the Chimera.
Okay, so imagine this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're reunited with the love of your life,
Okay.
but you find out you're both responsible for, like, the destruction of each other's worlds.
Oof.
That is messy.
Complicated.
That's exactly what Karoo and Akiva are facing.
right.
Especially when they meet again in, like, the ruins of Loramendi.
It's so intense.
So intense.
And I think one of the things that Taylor does so well is this recurring motif of Akiva finding Karoo,
Yeah.
no matter how well she tries to hide.
Right.
Like, he just always finds her. Remember when he becomes invisible to find her in those Kieran caves?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so good. It makes you think, like, are they bound across lifetimes?
Yeah.
Like, destined to find each other no matter what?
Right. And remember, those caves are actually where Madrigal grew up.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it just adds another layer
I know.
of complexity.
So many layers. It's clear he's in love with her, like, across lifetime.
Uh-huh. But her reaction,
Totally understandable.
I mean, I would be furious.
Yeah.
You know, he had a role in this war that just destroyed her people.
Right.
How are you supposed to forgive that?
Yeah, I mean, how could you?
How could you?
It's impossible.
Right. And yet there's this glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Akiva believes that, like, she might live again.
Right.
That it's not over.
That their story isn't over. Yeah.
It's almost tragic.
It is.
How he just holds onto that hope, even though he's experienced so much loss.
And that's what makes it so compelling, right? This push and pull,
Yeah.
love, betrayal, weight of history.
Totally.
They're both mirroring that larger war, the Chimera and the Seraphim.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Okay, so speaking of war, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the Chimera Rebellion.
Okay.
Tiago, the White Wolf.
Oh, Tiago.
So the Chimera, they find refuge in the human world after that initial conflict.
Right.
And Tiago is the one leading the charge.
He's intense.
Intense, rebuilding their strength.
Right.
And he's got this, like, I don't know, he's like a liberator, but also a tyrant.
Right.
It's a weird thing. He wants to reclaim Eretz, their homeland.
Yeah.
But his tactics, brutal.
Brutal, yeah. Fear, manipulation, even using revenants.
Revenants.
Like resurrected Chimera soldiers.
To terrify their enemies.
I know. Makes you think, like, how far is too far?
Yeah. Does the end justify the means?
Hmm.
And we see Karoo really struggling with this too.
Yes.
She starts to question his methods,
Right.
especially when she sees how they're impacting others.
Yeah, like that incident with the severed heads.
Oh, yeah.
So chilling.
Chilling. I mean, it really shows how dehumanizing war can be.
Right. And that scene where he removes the crossbar from her door,
Oh, yeah.
that was subtle, but it's powerful.
It was powerful.
Yeah.
It's like he's imprisoning her even as he's trying to fight for her freedom.
Exactly. It really makes you question his motives.
Totally. Okay, so now let's throw in another layer of intrigue to this whole situation. The Stelians.
The Stelians.
This mysterious faction of Seraphim
Right.
from these far isles.
Yeah.
And they arrive, and they deliver a message to the Emperor that throws everything into chaos.
Right.
Like their message challenges everything.
Yes. It hints at this big, hidden truth that the Emperor's been keeping secret.
Yeah. And the Emperor's reaction, swift.
Swift and brutal.
He hangs the silver swords.
His elite guard.
Yeah. And like, he just tosses aside a concubine's body. Like it's nothing.
So awful.
Awful.
Yeah, it shows you the power he wields. Absolute and ruthless.
Totally. And it's Akiva that actually stumbles upon the Stellion's message.
Right.
And the truth about what the Emperor's been doing.
Yeah.
And it's a turning point for him.
Yes.
He can't be complicit anymore.
Right.
He's got to rebel.
He has to.
So he joins forces with his siblings.
Liraz and Hazael.
Yeah.
Both misbegotten, right?
Right.
The angel warriors born out of wedlock.
Yeah.
And they start recruiting others to their cause.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Because they're challenging like the very core
Yes.
of the Seraphim's power.
Right. The foundation.
But can they actually create change?
Yeah.
Within a system that's built on oppression?
It's the big question.
The big question. And then we have the climax of this part of the story, at least.
Okay.
The assassination of the Emperor by Akiva.
Such a bold move.
Such a bold move.
It really changes everything.
It shatters the power dynamics.
Yeah.
The old order is crumbling.
It is.
But what's going to take its place? That's what we're left wondering.
Yes.
Okay, so before we jump into, like, all the fallout from the assassination,
Okay.
let's talk about the arrival of Ziri,
Oh.
the last Kirin,
Yes.
rescued from torture by Akiva.
Right.
And he becomes so important in Karu's life.
Yeah, he's wonderful. Such a gentle soul. So loyal to Karu.
Yeah.
And he brings this sense of peace to the Kasbah,
Yeah.
which is so needed with all the craziness going on outside.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And then on top of that, we have Zuzana and Mick.
Yes.
Karu's human friends.
I love them.
They just add this dose of humor and lightheartedness.
No needed.
Needed, right?
Yeah.
To this intense narrative.
I know.
And Zuzana's just fascinated
She's the best.
by the Chimera.
She's like a kid in a candy store.
Totally. I mean, I would be too.
Yeah, wouldn't you be freaked out if your best friend was living with mythical creatures?
Oh, absolutely.
I know, it's so good. But their arrival isn't all fun and games.
Right.
The news of Issa and Yasri's deaths hits them hard.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even in this fantastical world, there's still real loss.
Real loss.
And grief.
Yeah. And, you know, Kiru's hesitant to talk about Akiva.
Of course.
She's still hurting.
Yeah, protecting herself.
Yeah.
But Zuzana, she's not going to let that go.
Nope.
She pushes her. She wants to understand.
Yeah.
And eventually, Karu reveals her past to Zuzana
Yes.
as a Kirin,
Yeah.
a creature born of wishes.
Right. Like, she trusts Zuzana that much.
I know. It's so sweet that she shares that.
It really shows the power of their friendship,
Uh-huh.
sharing those deep secrets.
Yeah.
It's healing.
Yeah.
And in that moment, Karu admits Akiva's alive.
It hits Zuzana hard.
Yeah.
You can feel the tension. Like,
Yeah.
what does this mean for them?
Yeah.
And back in the Empire, things are going crazy.
Oh.
That message from the Stellians, it's like a firestorm.
Yeah.
The Emperor's response just makes it worse.
Yeah.
It's like the more he tries to control things,
Right.
the more people question him.
Classic, like, oppression breeding resistance.
Exactly.
And Akiva, he's at the forefront of this resistance.
Right. He discovers the truth about the Emperor.
Yeah.
Like how he disposed of that concubine.
Yeah.
Awful. It hardens Akiva's resolve.
Yeah.
He can't stand by.
He can't.
And there's Nevo,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
silver sword guarding the Emperor.
Yeah.
He sees everything.
Oh, yeah.
The Emperor's depravity.
Yeah.
How he treats those concubines like objects.
Yeah.
He starts questioning everything.
Yeah.
It's like he wants more meaning,
Right.
but he's trapped.
Yeah.
It makes you think, like, even good people can be complicit. Oh, yeah.
When they don't speak up.
Absolutely. So Akiva speaks out.
Yes.
He chooses to rebel.
Right. He knows he can't change the system from within.
Yeah, so he joins forces with Liraz and Hazael.
Powerful trio.
Right.
They're fighting centuries of tradition.
Yeah.
Ingrained power.
Uh-huh. And it's dangerous.
It's so dangerous.
They're trying to recruit other misbegotten.
Right. Those marginalized angel warriors.
Yeah. But there's so much fear.
I know.
So much distrust to overcome.
Yeah.
Plus, the Emperor's forces are closing in.
Right.
They've got this new weapon.
Revenant hands.
Revenant hands.
I know.
So creepy.
That's horrifying. Severed hands of fallen chimera.
Yeah.
Used as weapons.
The Emperor's logic is so twisted.
I know.
He's trying to wipe out their existence.
Yeah.
So Akiva knows he has to stop him. So he confronts him.
In the bath chamber.
In the bath chamber.
So good.
Talk about high stakes.
I know. And the battle.
Chaotic.
Luraz and Hazael are just fierce warriors.
So skilled.
But then the Dominion show up.
Uh-oh.
And it changes everything.
Dominion.
Angel assassins with revenant hands.
Their magic, it distorts everything.
Yeah.
Weakens them. They have to escape.
And the scene where the Emperor is assassinated.
Oh my God.
So powerful, quick, decisive.
Yeah.
But it's witnessed by the Emperor's nephew and the council. It adds this whole other layer.
It's like a dam breaking.
Yeah.
The old order's gone.
Yeah.
Everyone's scrambling for power.
Chaos.
Yeah.
And that chaos spills over to the Kasbah.
Right.
Karoo finally confronts Tiago,
Ooh.
calling him out on everything.
About time.
His lies, his manipulations.
Yes.
She's done being a pawn.
Good for her.
And Tiago's reaction. Terrifying.
He's a monster.
He just lashes out.
Yeah.
And it shows, like, how much danger she's been in.
Right. He never cared about her.
He just wanted to use her. And then, just when things seem hopeless, Ziri arrives.
Ziri.
In the body of the White Wolf.
What?
I know, right?
That's crazy.
It's insane. Is it Ziri? Is it the wolf?
I know. It makes you question everything.
It's brilliant, right?
That's so good.
And it happens as Akiva and Liraz arrive at the Kasbah.
Carrying Hazael.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Reunion between Karoo and Akiva is so bittersweet.
Yeah.
You can feel everything that's unsaid.
It's happy.
So heavy. And then tragedy strikes again.
Hazael.
Hazael's dead.
Oh, no.
Even Karoo's magic can't bring him back.
I know. It shows you, like, even with all this magic, death is still final.
Liraz's grief.
It's heartbreaking.
So raw.
Yeah. It's a reminder of how differently we process loss.
Right.
You know, compared to how the Emperor just tossed that concubine aside.
Yeah, so as they're mourning Hazael,
Yes.
the Dominion arrive.
Oh, no.
The tension is insane.
Oh, no. What's going to happen?
We're left with so many questions.
So many questions. And this feeling of impending doom.
Yeah.
So Akiva and Liraz, they escape with Hazael's body dominion on their trail, and Karoo trying to wrap her head around Ziri and the White Wolf, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And like while all that's happening, Zuzana and Mick, back in Prague,
Right.
they're trying to figure out what happened to Karoo.
Such a good support system, though.
They really are. I mean, they go from dealing with like blue-haired devils in one of Karoo's stories to actual real-life fantastical creatures.
Right.
They don't even blink.
And it's, I think, their humor and determination that makes them such great characters.
Yeah.
Like, they ground the story even when things get super dark.
Right, right.
Remember how Karoo had been collecting all those teeth for Brimstone?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Zuzana and Mick, they find those teeth and they get suspicious, and that leads them to this hidden portal in the Kasbah in Morocco.
Their reaction when they see the Kasbah and everyone there for the first time, it's priceless.
It's the best.
Zuzana's like terrified, but also completely fascinated.
Right.
I mean, who wouldn't be?
Totally.
It's like your best friend is suddenly living with a bunch of mythical creatures.
I know. It's so good. That clash between ordinary and extraordinary, Taylor nails it.
Yeah, she does.
Oh.
But their arrival, it's not all fun and games.
No.
The news about Issa and Yasri, it hits them hard.
It does.
It's a reminder that even in this fantastical world, there's still real loss.
And grief. Yeah.
And you know, Karoo, she doesn't want to talk about Akiva.
Yeah.
It's clear she's still hurting, trying to, like, protect herself
Right.
from more heartache.
Yeah, totally understandable.
But Zuzana, she's not going to let it go.
She's not going to let it go now.
She pushes Karoo. She wants to understand.
She does, and it works because finally,
Yeah.
Karoo reveals her past as a Kirin.
I love that scene.
It's such a big deal. A creature born from wishes.
Yeah.
Like, she trusts Zuzana that much.
That much. Yeah, and then finally she admits that Akiva's alive.
The tension, you can feel it.
It's like, what does this mean for them?
Exactly. And meanwhile, back in the Empire, everything's imploding. Yeah. The Stellion's message has thrown everything into chaos.
Right.
The Emperor's response, it's backfiring.
Like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Right. The more he tries to control everything, the more people resist.
It's classic.
It's...
Oppression breeds resistance.
And Akiva, he's right at the center of it.
Yeah.
Discovering the truth about the Emperor, those horrific acts.
Right.
Yeah.
Like how he just discarded that concubine's body.
It's awful, and it just solidifies Akiva's decision. He can't stand by anymore.
He can't. And I think we should talk about Nevo, too.
Oh, yeah, Neva.
The silver sword guarding the Emperor.
Yeah.
He sees it all.
He does, like the Emperor's depravity.
Yeah, the way he treats the concubines, like they're nothing.
Right. It makes him question everything.
It does. It's heartbreaking because you can tell he wants something more.
He does.
But he's trapped.
And it makes you think, even good people can get caught up.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't speak up.
Absolutely. And that's what makes Akiva different. He does speak up.
He does. He chooses to rebel.
He does. He knows he can't change things from the inside, so he teams up with Liraz and Hazel.
They're such a powerhouse.
They are.
They're fighting against centuries of tradition.
Right.
This ingrained power structure.
And it's so dangerous.
So dangerous. They're trying to recruit other misbegotten.
Yeah, those angel warriors who've been cast aside.
Right, but there's so much distrust.
I know. So much fear.
And on top of that, the Emperor's forces are closing in.
With their new weapon?
The Revenant hands.
Ugh, I know. It's just
Horrifying.
so messed up. Using the severed hands of fallen Chimera.
It shows how far the Emperor is willing to go.
Yeah, he wants to erase them completely.
He does.
So Akiva has to stop him, and he takes a huge risk.
What does he do?
He confronts the Emperor in his bath chamber.
No way.
I know. Talk about a showdown.
The stakes are so high.
And the battle, it's brutal.
Brutal.
Liraz and Hazel, they fight like they're incredible.
They are. So skilled.
But then the Dominion arrive,
Oh.
and the whole game changes.
It does.
These assassins with revenant hands, their magic, it's warping everything.
Weakening them.
They have to run.
They do. And then the assassination.
It happens so fast.
It does.
Akiva's he's driven by rage.
Right.
But it's witnessed by Japheth, the Emperor's nephew, and the Council.
It adds this whole other layer of complexity.
I know. It's like, okay, the Emperor's gone, but now what?
Exactly. Who's going to take over?
It's like a power vacuum.
It is. And that chaos, it spreads to the Kasbah, too.
Yeah.
Karoo finally confronts Tiago.
She does. She calls him out on all his lies.
Right. She's done being manipulated.
She is. She's taking back her power.
It's a big moment for her.
It is. But Tiago's reaction, it's scary.
It is. He's lost it.
He's a monster. He lashes out at Karoo.
It's brutal, and it shows how dangerous he really is.
He never cared about her.
Just how he could use her.
Right. And then, just when you think it can't get worse, Ziri shows up.
Ziri.
Yeah, in the body of the White Wolf.
How?
I know. It's like, what is happening?
That's insane.
It's such a good twist.
It is. It throws everything you thought you knew out the window.
Completely. And it happens right as Akiva and Liraz get to the Kasbah.
Carrying Hazael's body.
Yeah. And the reunion between Karoo and Akiva, it's so intense.
There's so many unspoken things.
So much history.
And then Hazael.
He's gone.
Oh, no.
Even Karoo can't bring him back.
It's like a reminder that some things, even with magic, can't be fixed.
Liraz is devastated.
She is. It's so raw.
And it makes you think about how differently loss is treated.
Right.
Like how the Emperor just tossed that concubine aside versus this.
It's a good point.
And as they're mourning Hazael,
Yeah.
the Dominion, they arrive.
Oh, man.
The tension is just, you can cut it with a knife.
What's going to happen?
It's a total cliffhanger.
It is. We're left with all these questions.
All these questions and this feeling of dread.
Like everything's about to explode.
So the Dominion are closing in. Akiva and Liraz are trying to deal with losing Hazael. And Karoo's trying to wrap her head around Ziri, well, the White Wolf. I mean, it's a lot.
It really is. Like everything's happening at once.
And Taylor does not hold back. Like that scene where Akiva and Liraz have to escape the Kasbah
Oh, I know.
with the Dominion right behind them.
My heart was racing.
It's so intense. They're hurt, they're grieving, and now they're facing like this unstoppable enemy.
But they keep going. It's like their will to survive is just, it's amazing.
And we get these scenes back in Prague
Right.
where Zuzana and Mech are seeing like what's happening because of the assassination.
The hull of conquest shattering.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that visual, it's crazy.
Like the world's changing right before their eyes.
Totally, it's terrifying but also kind of exciting.
Right, like what's going to happen next?
Anything is possible. But back in the Kasbah,
Yeah.
it's getting complicated because Karoo, she's torn.
Of course she is.
She's got these feelings for Ziri,
Right.
but she's also disgusted by the White Wolf.
Right. And that's who he is now.
I don't know how she's dealing with it.
It makes you think about, like, what would you do?
Oh, I have no idea.
Can you see past someone's appearance to the person you love?
That's deep.
It is, and it's not easy. And Ziri's struggling too.
Right, because he hates everything the White Wolf represented.
Exactly. He's scared of losing Karoo.
It's like everyone is going through it.
Yeah, and Taylor makes you feel for all of them, which is amazing.
Totally. And then, just when you think it can't get worse,
It does.
the Dominion break into the Casbah.
I know, that battle.
Epic. Magic everywhere, betrayal, sacrifice.
It's like everything explodes.
But even with all the action, you never forget about the characters.
Yeah, you're so invested in them.
And then Ziri, in the wolf's body,
I know, that scene.
he sacrifices himself to save Karoo.
I was sobbing.
It's so heroic, also so sad.
It really shows how much he loves her.
It just destroys Karoo.
Of course it does. It's another huge loss.
But there are these glimmers of hope. Akiva and Liraz, they escape
Yeah, and they're going to keep fighting.
for a better future.
Yeah, for everyone who's been lost.
And Zuzana and Mac, they're not just outsiders anymore.
Right, they're part of this world now.
They're in the fight.
It shows that anyone can make a difference.
You don't have to have magic powers.
Exactly, just courage and compassion.
And the ending, I don't even know what to say.
It leaves you breathless.
It does. The world's changed. The old order is gone.
A new era is beginning.
It's the perfect mix of, like, closure and anticipation.
Right, you're satisfied, but you also want to know what happens next.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive into Days of Blood and Starlight. We've talked about love, loss, betrayal, the messiness of war.
Characters making impossible choices.
We've looked at power, identity, what it means to exist.
That's heavy stuff.
It is, but that's what makes it so good, right?
Yeah.
It makes you think, feel, question.
It stays with you.
So what resonated with you? What are you still thinking about?
Yeah, share your thoughts, keep the conversation going.
This is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore in Laini Taylor's world.